Good morning. We are back.
Morning.
Live on a Saturday morning.
Yes.
950 Lounge is live. Broadcasting from the legendary Dimension Studios, North Bronx, on our multiple networks. Why am I hearing
It's echo.
Oh, take that off, C. Obviously, again, you know my name, Kevin KP Pride, joined by
it's your boy, Just a Classic, man. What's going on?
Rodeo's in transit, so we got Triple OG, old Ed sitting in.
We in the building.
Backstage Ed's in the cot seat there. And to my left, it's a brother he's been on the show before. If you guys remember, a few months ago, he's got his own show here at DSN called Catch the Vision, and he's the pastor of St. John's AF Church. And he's going to help us try to put some cap on what's going on.
Oh, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pastor Ross Myrie. Welcome to the show, Pastor.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Obviously, Pastor, we normally start the show. We've been out a week, and the world, in my opinion, has changed tremendously in 13 days.
13 days.
You know, when you think about it, 13 days. We normally start this show with some sad times, some fun, but it's hard to really kind of like, you know, put a smile or have a conversation where you can't talk about what's going on. And when I reached out to you this week, and obviously the ultimate amount of respect for you was about Baton Rouge, Dallas, and St. Paul.
Right.
But obviously Paris and last night Istanbul, Turkey.
Yes.
It's not just a black and white thing. It's a global thing.
It's
Your
a people
thoughts,
thing.
Pastor?
You know, we are in what I will call a state of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then there are climatic catastrophes that would happen that would throw us into that, such as Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina, and then the president would address the nation. There are times that the State of the Nation address. You have the State of the Union, State of the State, the Mayor de Blasio, you have the State of the City. Well, we are, and we have been for quite some time, in a state of an emergency.
Right.
But the eyes of man has been shifted. We are so caught up in distractions, but this doesn't need biblical scriptures to back up, because things that are happening now just doesn't make sense.
Right.
And it's not getting any better. Yeah. You know, it doesn't make, we all know about black on black crimes. We know about the police brutality. That's been the case, but now it's being broadcasted as if it's a sitcom. Yeah. And it's happening on an everyday basis to dull us, so that we'll become desensitized to it. But the travesties are growing to such a proportion that you can't turn your back to it. Mm-hmm. And so we are in a situation wherein that we need to really look at a different angle, look at this from a different lens on the prism. You know, I can go so deep into this, but I don't know how far you want me to go on this show.
No, I want you to go deep. Just again, you know, Pastor, and normally I don't have to tell you that. Okay. You normally just do what you do. And again, the reason why we bring you here is because not just from a standpoint, I think, and I'll let you speak on that about, I think our world needs, you know, some more spiritual guidance, but also from a standpoint as a man who's been there. You know?
I'm a regular OG.
Right.
I'm born and raised in the Bronx.
I just want y'all to know the pastor said he's an OG, so this pay attention.
Watch it.
Pay attention.
I did my thing.
We rule.
I did my thing. You know, Al Green, the whole. I'm a blast from the past, but I had an encounter. Right. So I want you to know that this is not something that was an epiphany. Right. Something I was out there selling. I was using, I was gang banging, okay, I was robbing, just like any other brother that was out there, or any person that's out there. So I wasn't one that was picked from an elite, or I had a silver spoon in my mouth. I was a regular Mo out in the street, but I had an encounter. So what I'm coming with is something that's real, but it's based upon biblical proportions. People has changed. The nature of people has changed. The way we feel about each other, the way we feel about ourselves, the way we regard our parents, the way we regard the law enforcement, the way law enforcement regard us, we have changed. And it's been so subtle over a period of time. I remember a day that we would never disrespect our parents. Right. True. But now disrespect is so prevalent, it's a common occurrence. Right. And so you have to understand, because we're changing our perceptions, we're changing our perception about our gender, of what we feel is right and what's wrong. And we're changing now even bathrooms. We're changing so much. But one thing that has not changed is, even though we've even changed the way we feel about God. We changed, that perception has changed. This country was founded, if we go history, the 13 colonies. We was, the 13 colonies, we were founded on one nation under God, indivisible. We was founded on, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. We brandish on courthouses, and God we trust. We brandish on our monies, and God we trust. Now we are systematically removing God even out of the national anthem. We're removing out of the Canadian anthem. And when you remove God, the foundation, now we're changing how we feel about him. And believe it or not, it's because of him that God has blessed America. Right. And when we begin to pull away from the things of God in such a blatant way, it's for us to allow certain things that we know God hates, we have to know that there's going to be a response. It's not a response from God, but God is pulling away because we're pulling away from him. And the things that he was withholding from happening to us is starting to happen. And now these catastrophes that don't make no sense is occurring. We are in time in it of itself is in God. Okay, he's like Flavor Flav. Okay, he's with the clock. Time is inside of him. Right. He doesn't exist in our time. Right. We exist in his time. They call him Alpha, Omega. Alpha, omnipresent, Alpha and Omega, meaning that he's present in the past, present in the present, present in the future. So we are in this linear timeline. And in this linear timeline, we have to understand that there are certain setups that God has, what he called dispensations. And there are 7 of them in humanity. Dispensation, what that is defined, it is a period of judgment, okay? And there's 7 of them, and each one is triggered by an event. Let me give you an example. The dispensational one was the dispensation of innocence. It was when Adam and Eve was in the garden before they knew no sin. And the moment that sin was introduced, we shifted dispensations, and we became the dispensation of awareness, or say consciousness. Right. That dispensation continued until another event transpired, was the dispensation of the law, when God gave Moses on Mount Sinai the Mosaic law. And once he gave that law, the dispensation shifted again. Now we were under that law. You follow me so far?
Let me go 1 second, Pastor, and then we're talking to Pastor Ross Myrie from St. John's AF Church here in Bronx, New York. Just to kind of flip it a little from a conversation standpoint, we mentioned about obviously what the country was built on, principles. There are people who will say, well, the country at that time, there were slaves. So that maybe was not apparent to the African American at that time, the Negro.
Right.
There's people who have issues in belief that are saying, well, you know, and this is not my belief, but just in general, if people are saying, hey, listen, you know, this has always been police brutality. It's always been, we've been second-class citizens. We've always been the almost the have-nots. What do you say to somebody who maybe is lack belief, or because of all that's happened over the last 2 weeks is feeling like their belief in Christ is kind of wavered?
You know, it's because we don't recognize who we are.
Right.
Okay? Believe it or not, and people gonna beat me up for this, black people are the chosen people. Okay? We are, I believe, not to the extreme as the Israelites on the street, but we are God's favored. Okay? If you look at history, none of these Cleopatras and Richard Burton and the Elizabeth Taylor that they depicted to us as Cleopatra, they are not gender, that their ethnicity were not, it's not conducive to the environment in which they was raised.
So almost like what Paul Mooney said.
Absolutely.
and I won't use the terms Paul used, but I'm just saying.
But one of the greatest thing the enemy does, he robs us of us from our identity. Right. When we don't know who we are, we quite often assume that the identity opposite to what we were meant to be. We are engineers. We are creators. We are innovators. We're like a MacGyver. Put us in the field. We're going to make something. Right. That has been in our nature. We were God's favorite people. However, we turned our back on God. We turned our back. Now, you want to go history? I can go history with you. We have been rebellious. And what happens, God is a gentleman. He's always have been. He can force us to do something. But would you want to force your wife to love you?
Right.
Or you want your wife to love you or your girl to love you because of who you are. Exactly. Well, he wants us to love him by choice. And when we erect other things, people, places, and things before God, he'll back up and wait for you to come to him.
Right.
And unfortunately, we've done that. We've done that throughout history, and because of that, we've been entangled and ensnared by the enemy. And what the enemy has done, he has systematically robbed us of who we are.
So, in your thoughts, what is taking the black man in general away? Let's talk about this generation here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the millennials.
Okay.
From a standpoint of what we see on TV, the lack of focus. You mentioned about the lack of respect for adult figures.
Mm-hmm.
What is driving? And again, please keep it in your terms. I know you're a man of God. What is driving that? Because again, if we always say, "Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Fool me, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." If I'm a millennial or even whatever Gen Xer, which I am, and I'm sitting back and I'm going, "Wow, I've seen this for 20, 40, 60, 100 years." And I'm still doing the same nonsense to not make a change. What does that say about me?
It says that we're ignorant. Okay, ignorant not to the point of stupidity, but ignorant to the point of unlearned.
Right.
If we continue to repeat the same behavior, we're going to always receive the same results.
Right.
But every man says, I can do it better than him. I can do it different. I won't make that mistake, but yet we get on the same Ferris wheel. Okay, we have to change what we do.
Right.
Okay, and unfortunately, we live in a microwave society that no one wants to climb up the stairs.
Right.
Everyone wants to get in the express elevator and reach the top tomorrow.
Yes.
We live in this microwave society that and because of reality TV, I want what this person have now. I want what this woman have now so much, and so I'm not going to go through the insemination, the 9-month pregnancy. I'm going to cut it out of her stomach. I want to try to show you how graphic we get and to what extent we'll go to get what we want right now.
So we pretty much will sell our souls.
Absolutely. And we've done that.
Right.
We've done it, but understand, in that selling process, because money is only an exchange for something else. Right. And so in that exchange, we'll exchange something that's invaluable and we'll give it up, which is our soul, for something that we can only have for a moment. And then after that moment is over, guess what? When it comes down to the value of your soul and you realize its value, it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to touch on the family aspect real quick. I have both parents, so I understand it. Growing up, I had grandparents, aunts, uncles. You were raised in a community.
Right.
Now, the millennials, they're not raised in a community like that anymore. They're raised by what they see on TV, what they watch online, so forth and so on. Is there anything, that you could phrase to them to help them try to find some structure in their life? Because that's what a lot of these children are missing now. In my personal opinion, is structure. Because there's no structure in this world anymore. Everybody's doing whatever they want to do, however they want to do it, and it is what it is. It's basically the saying now. The
generation that we're experiencing now is like none other. It's a generation Y. And most often they're asking, why is things like this? Why is it? In order for someone to learn, they have to be taught. And so now they have put so much fear in people like us that we don't want to try to reach out to them. And so I have a street service I'm going to go into in about another hour or so. And it's in the roughest area of the Bronx. You think I'm afraid? I come from the streets. I'm not going to let that environment petrol me, but I got to get a message out to those that don't know. And so you ask me, what would I say? I would say that us, instead of trying to solidify our position, we need to turn back. And turn back into those fatherless, those motherless, and those mother and father children and share by example a lifestyle of integrity. We've lost that. We've lost the number one thing that we've lost is our identity. 98% of us don't know who we are. And so we're assuming an identity that's contrary to who we There is a story that was depicted in the papers, and I'll say this in about 30 seconds, about a Caucasian woman. True story, about 5 years ago. She was homeless. She was picking up cigarette butts. She was eating out of the garbage. She was smelling like urine. She was a regular, typical homeless person. Right. Somehow or another, she got published in the paper. Right. And when she got published in the paper, someone in the Hamptons recognize her as Aunt Bunny. I'm just using that name metaphorically. Right. And Aunt Bunny, they recognized Aunt Bunny, and they came to get Aunt Bunny. Aunt Bunny turned out to be a multi-millionaire. But because she didn't know who she was living a life of a derelict. This is indicative and synonymous of us. Right. We don't know who we are. So I'd rather live out a Kanye West life. I don't mean to call nobody out, but or somebody's life that's I perceive to be successful. How do you measure success? That's a good question that we should ask individuals. Is it by what you have, or by what you've accumulated, or by what you know? Right. Integrity is success to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to trade off or compromise my self-values for anything that's going to whore me out. Okay, a lot of people pimp out themselves for work purposes, and they degrade themselves. I was speaking to my son a little while ago, and I was telling him about how in the work practice, I've been in corporate America all my life, there's a standard of how we're supposed to treat one another. Right. I would never allow somebody to say, hey, Kevin, get over here. No, you're going to respect me. Okay, equal opportunity, respect. Right. But what happens, we allow, because we don't value ourselves, we allow certain things that happen to us, and we accept it based upon status.
True. Pastor, I know we got a few minutes left, and I normally I'm like I said again, I thank you. We got to get you back here more often.
Can I say one more thing that I promise I'm going to leave?
Please.
I was talking about the 7 time periods. I stopped off at the dispensation of the law. Right. We were in the dispensation of the law until Jesus Christ came. When Jesus Christ came, we switched dispensations to the one that we are in now. And we're almost at the end of that one, which is the dispensation of grace. Grace is, back in the days of the law, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Right. If your right arm offend you, cut it off. If children in the dispensation of the law, they could not live, because if you were disrespectful to your parents and those dispensational periods, they would take your child out into the field and stone them to death. We would have no disrespectful children if that was the case now. But when Jesus Christ came, we moved into the dispensation of grace. Grace is a coverage that we don't deserve. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of people think that we're getting away with stuff, because it's grace right now. But we're almost at the end of grace. And what's going to trigger the next dispensation is the rapture that many people don't believe. Right. And when the rapture occurs, the next dispensation is a dispensation of judgment, a.k.a. tribulation. Now, I said that to say this. In the tribulation period, according to the Bible, it's going to be 3.5 years of peace and bliss. And then it's going to be 3.5 years of torment. Okay, so now I said that to say this. We're looking for things to get better. We're saying, listen, I can't wait for it to get better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be here when it gets better. Yeah. Because guess what? The rapture is going to already occurred. And then I'll spend those 3.5 years of peace on earth per se, but it's not really peace. The Antichrist is setting himself up. Right. So we really need to wake up and see what's going on.
That's Pastor, again, I know you got to get out of here, and I truly appreciate the time. Real quick, you got a show on one of our DSN network. Talk about that real quick while you got a chance, and also your ministries on the weekdays and on Sunday.
Every second and fourth Tuesday from 7 to 8, we have a show here that we call Catch the Vision. We keep it real. We drop it like it's hot. We take a topic and we open up this topic that no one really likes to talk about, and we're bringing the tie in the spiritual aspect to it. It's every second and fourth Tuesday here at this network, DSN, Catch the Vision. I have a ministry called St. John AF Church. It's located at 1744 Eastburn Ave. Every Thursday night, I'm there teaching life principles similar to what I'm doing here. And on Sunday morning from 11:30 to 2:30, we're in our worship services.
Now, Pastor Roach, we have a national audience on our show here, KOSR, WRN. For somebody who's not in New York, how can they reach you?
They can reach me by just going into our website, which is www.stjohn1, that's SAINT, John1.com. It's give you full access to our itinerary, how to reach me, and you can even leave messages there. I'd love to respond to you.
Pastor, we got a quick call. Can you stay for this quick call? Caller, who are you? Where you calling from? Welcome to 950 Lounge.
Hi, this is Mandy Robertson calling from Yonkers.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Hi, I have a quick question for the pastor.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, what is the responsibility of the church and the community today, and what can we do to evoke the change that you speak of?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. The church, for some reason, has found its way into the closet. And the church is the forefront. And now what's happening is we're allowing the strategists, which is the enemy, to take the forefront while we take the back seat. And the church has compromised so much and so because of political, because of misrepresentation. They have compromised, and in that compromisal, people have begun to see the faults of the church. And the church, because they were standing on the principles as opposed to biblical principles, they took the back seat. What the church has to do is what John the Baptist did. Cry loud and spare not. But most of all, we got to live what we say.
Thank you, caller, for calling in. Keep tuned to the 9 Free Lounge.